when we connect to our source and our guidance, it can say, well, actually, you're of greater service when you're over here or when you do this. And just to be comfortable with that, regardless of how others may perceive it, just knowing that if you're true or when you're true to yourself, you are literally doing the most that you can do. Like when you're
Mm.
true to your guidance, there's nothing more powerful. There's nothing more powerful than that when you're one with the real you.
Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Quest, with me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, always guided by Spirit. I am very excited to share my gift with you and empower you to embrace your gift. So if you define yourself as a spiritual human being, then you've come to the right place. So prepare yourself now for an amazing journey where your soul will lead the way. Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Quest podcast, where we allow ourselves to be channels of love. Today, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, the listeners, for being part of this journey with me and for opening up to allowing the guidance of Spirit. In an ever-changing world, we are reawakening our divine nature, which allows us to reclaim our power and express our unique frequency. The 3D reality, on the other hand, wants to tell us a different story, a story of suffering, lack and limitations, and powerlessness, which is a strong illusion keeping so many people imprisoned in lower vibrations of fear, anger, shame, and guilt. So, to alleviate some of that collective pain, I've invited an inspiring channeler of the Archangels, Chernise Spruell. So, Chernise works with the Archangels, ascended masters, and divine guides to enhance our connection with the divine so that we have a greater experiential knowing of our own power and the love that surrounds us. She uses practical tools as well as light language, angelic toning, I think it is, quantum repatterning, and angelic energy attunements to help us feel more joyful and to transmute previous wounding. So I hope you're ready to open up to receive divine guidance from the archangels. It's my pleasure to welcome Chernise Spruell to the Spiritual Quest podcast. Welcome, Chernise.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to have you on. And not only that, for you are a channeler and you bring divine messages forward. And I think in this time, also because we're moving into the holiday season, but we need more messages of love, of peace, of harmony. And I thought, who better to invite than somebody who can bring those messages out into the world? So I'm very honored that you're here with us today. But before we get into the channeling part, we would love to get to know you. So, would you please share for the listeners and those who are watching your own journey of, leading into discovering your channeling abilities?
Wow. Well, I grew up as someone who was very sensitive. I was not an empath, but I was very sensitive and I grew up with a lot of insecurities. And I remember just saying to the universe, if someone out there has information or could guide me so I'm not recreating the wheel, I would love assistance with just being able to appreciate and love myself more. And I also grew up in the church. Like I was aware. So I grew up very connected to God, but I didn't feel like church was necessarily the place. And so after I put my request out to the universe, I ended up meeting this woman who became my spiritual coach. And while I was working with her, I had just so many discoveries about the way the universe spoke with me, and I just ate it up. And as I was embracing the way that the universe would send me divine guidance, and I just noticed that my vibration started rising. And then certain things started happening that I was not expecting. There were periods when certain body parts started moving. I mean, I'm leaving out a lot of information here, but so I was working regularly with my spiritual coach. I remember I was listening to Abraham Hicks regularly. I was reading these wonderful books by Orrin and Dobbin that I absolutely love. And Orrin and Dobbin were also channels. So I was just continuously, raising my vibration, keeping my awareness focused on this energy, not knowing that that's the formula for cracking you open. And so, like I said, certain body parts started moving. I told my spiritual coach, she hadn't been familiar with that. So she said, why don't you just write it down? So I had this random journal of 5 o'clock Thursday, right arm, left shoulder moved out. And it was really interesting. One of the movements that was the most common was something that felt like my heart was opening, and then my shoulders were moving up and down. And later I realized heart, wings, angels. So that kind of began my journey of physically embodying the archangels and allowing them to move through me. And like I said, I left out a lot, so let me know if you want me to fill it
Yes,
in more.
first of all, how old were you when you decided that this spiritual path was, or you found your mentor? How old were you?
I would say maybe I was 30. I would say I was in my I would say mid 30s, early to mid
So,
30s.
okay, so would you say that was your reawakening? Because you said you went to church, you had that connection with God, so you already had an experience of something grander or something divine, right? And so this was kind of like you waking up to your abilities or your gifts. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. Well said.
Okay, so when you found her, there's no coincidences. So she came into your life and you started to go to her to allow yourself to be part of, I guess, a higher vibration than what you were experiencing out into the world. So, how did you embody that? As you said, you were allowing your body to move, or it just started to do, which makes me think you were not afraid of all that was happening to you. You were
I'm glad
wide
you said
open.
that. I was very afraid. Well, there was a lot of beauty and there was a lot of concern because it wasn't familiar, but it did
Ah,
feel safe. I'm so glad you said that because so much of this journey isn't just like I'm opening up to the universe, it's all wonderful. There's a lot of, like you said, the third dimensional plane. It's so convincing. You're so used to habit and to things unfolding a certain way. So when you have unique things happening that maybe there's no precedence for, you don't know anyone else this happened to, it can definitely feel very just it can feel very strange, but I was surrounded by love the whole time.
hmm.
So I will say that after I was working with my spiritual coach and I told her that these things were happening, she said, you know what? You've been reading about the spiritual path for a while. Maybe you should share some information with others. So I decided to start doing that. And I guess that contributed to this flow of energy that I was pulling through and not giving an outlet to. And so as I started doing that, I started finding out that like I remember one day I was working, I had this day job. I was sitting at the computer one day and I felt my hands fly to the keyboard and they started typing. And it didn't make sense. It felt very strange, but it didn't feel bad. And I think that's just an important thing to know about discerning energy. Like, how does it feel? My hands felt joyful. The situation felt completely strange. It felt very, very strange. But it was, like I said, there was just this loving feeling. So there was this combination of strange experiences surrounded by love. And after a while, the messages started to make sense. Like once I decided to commit and write this, just make up this little newsletter that I might send out to people like, hey, if you're on this spiritual journey, here are a few tips that I've picked up that can be of assistance. And that's when the messages that were flowing through my hands started making sense. And the first thing that the being came through said was, "Hello, my name is Rose. I'm here to assist you." And it was just the loveliest, loveliest energy and loveliest experience. And then at one point, she said, "We're going to start speaking through you. We would love for you to get a recording device." And I remember the day that I was sitting at my computer and I had, I hit record and I'm like, how do I do this? How do I let this loving being through me? And as I was just sort of making peace with the situation and comforting my ego self that was probably freaking out, I think the first day all they said was hello. And then the next day I started, I went back to the computer. They said, "I love you all as well. I love you all as well. I love you all as well." And then from that, the next thing they said was, and this is over a period of times. This isn't like over, 3-day period. But then the next message they said was, "We would love for you to invite some people over and for you to channel for them." And it really it was just a lovely experience. There's so much getting outside of my comfort zone, so much of that. So it wasn't without fear, but I always felt held in love. I
Mm.
always felt, and there was always this choice for me to direct more of my energy to the fear or to the love. And I just had to keep working on, this feels right, this feels loving. I asked for this, like I asked for greater connection, I asked to be of service, and this is what showed up to me. And
Mm.
so I just kept working to refocus on the love. And then I started channeling, and that's how it happened.
So I love listening to you because I can resonate. I am a channeler myself, and I've had my story of being told to open up and start channeling. It actually took me, I think it was more or less 5 years before I said, "Okay, let's do this." So it's not like you just wake up and say, "Oh, I got this gift. Let's do it." It's not that simple. We're
It's
human
not.
having this human experience. There's a lot of fear, but as you so beautifully explained, the love that you feel. So you're embodying this love, and that gives you the sense of peace and harmony and all that you're seeking out there. You are now experiencing within yourself, and you're reclaiming your own power within that understanding. And so I think it's just beautiful how you kind of moved, you allow the fear, you didn't let it stop you, but you move through it by focusing your energy inwards to the divine, trusting in that peace and that love and that harmony. And I think that's a very important part of opening up to our spiritual gifts, that nobody is born with the gifts and here we go, this is how you do it. So that brings me into another question, because I wonder, did you think about, why is this happening to me? Is there a deeper meaning or purpose for this? Because everybody's seeking purpose in life. So what was your process?
I I think for me, well, I remember, so there are a few things I remember about my life. I remember being really young and having this idea that I wanted to create this big hotel for homeless people that would help them have their needs met and know that they were loved and so that they could support themselves. And there were other times where I wanted to buy all of the pets in pet stores. Like, I remember my mom, like, there was a store in the mall, and I was like, when I get the money, I'm going to buy all the pets in the pet store so there will be no more homeless pets. And then my mom said, "Well, there are more homeless pets in the world than that." And I was heartbroken. It's like, what? You mean there's more pets than that? Um, and so I feel like I, like a lot of people, just have this desire to serve, to heal, to, you see or you hear of people in the world that do not feel loved and you want to do something about it. So I know there was just this urge and this desire in me to assist others in some way, to love others, to help others feel loved. And as I was along this path, working with my spiritual coach, I don't remember the exact incident. I don't remember the situation, but I remember feeling something so strongly and just saying, source, God, universe, if there is some way that I can help, I am willing to be a vessel to serve. And this was what happened before all of the channeling. So for me, it felt like this very conscious moment when I said to the universe, use me. I think that's what really sort of tipped the balance, because before then there was this subconscious, um, knowledge that there's more to life than what I'd been told, this desire for more information, and this maybe subconscious request, but I think it matched when I had this conscious desire, like, yes, please use me for something. I would like to be of service.
Beautiful. And so when you already knew this as a child, and so would you say that coming into this world, you were already awakened to your purpose in life, that you would be serving in some way?
I would not say that exactly.
No?
I would say that I was aware that I did. Well, yes, I had a desire to serve. Exactly. Actually, you said it perfectly. I had a desire to serve. I didn't know how that was going to manifest.
Yeah, okay. So at least you had that knowingness that whatever you wanted, you've always been guided by your power. And so it feels like when you're speaking that you're very much aware that you are part of the divine as you are seeking out
Mm.
your mentor and you're allowing yourself to walk down that path, even though you do have, let's say, adopted or imprinted patterns that are limiting you in as a human being in some way, but it didn't stop you. So what is your best tip for people who are now finding themselves kind of like in what would you say in English, like you have one foot there and the other foot in the 3D, the other foot in the 4D, the heart vibration, not knowing, because okay, let me reframe that a moment because I'm getting insights here. So my question is, I've been speaking to a lot of people from around the world lately, and they're all on this spiritual journey, and they have reawakened several times, and we're finding ourselves through this shift that many of us are reawakening to the 3D paradigm that is still keeping parts of us separate from the wholeness. So even though we have the knowledge and we have the understanding, we've felt the shift in vibration, we know how to shift and to move past and beyond what is keeping us separate, we are now tuning into the collective, the limiting beliefs of the collective. So we are now being called to, because I then asked my spiritual team and they say, well, my friend, you have to help the collective release as well. That's part of the service, and you need to understand and experience what that feels like for you to be able to share it and to bring light into what's going on so that people understand, so that we don't get frustrated, because I know a lot of us, uh, I'm speaking for myself, can get easily frustrated when things are not moving in a certain way that my ego wants. Like it's not going fast enough. You're hearing about it all the time. Everything is moving faster, everything is manifesting faster. And it's like, well, I'm not experiencing that on my service path. I'm experiencing more enlightenment because people are reawakening, but we're still not where we're being able to free ourselves completely because we have a collective responsibility. And so that, I guess, was my question, which I completely lost. But I want to ask you this. What is the biggest, do you think, the biggest illusion of humanity going through this collective wounding that we are transcending and helping? So how can we move past it, and what is it, the biggest illusion from your point of view?
Wow. From my point of view, the biggest illusion is one of the things that the angels share with me, or they have me share with others, is that you are not alone. You're not alone. The ego would like for you to believe that you are alone. Because when you're alone, you see yourself and feel yourself as smaller than anything in the 3D, when in reality, all that you experience is within the wholeness of that which you are, is within the wholeness of source. There is nothing outside of us that is bigger than we are. But one of the things that we keep doing, which is another thing that the archangel, I'm remembering something else the archangels were saying. They say you did not come here to recreate what already is. So, in that believing that we are alone, we look at what's out there and we give our creative God power, creative source power, and direct it with emotion and allow it to enhance and recreate what we're seeing, which doesn't serve us. It's so helpful to look within and to allow what we have within to fill us with that energy, that we're not alone, that we're connected, to remind us that, wait a second, everything that I'm seeing externally is in me. And it's not just the negative things that you see on the outside, it's all inside, right? There's no real time. We're still maybe not exactly sure how, time exists. I heard the loveliest thing by a woman once. She was talking about a timeline and she said, first of all, time, the way we believe it isn't real. And if it were real, it certainly wouldn't be a line. It would be like a spiral, like it wouldn't be
Yeah.
a timeline,
Yeah.
right? So time definitely doesn't exist. So it's all happening now. And we may see these things that are happening externally and think that that's all that is, but it's all there. We're just not vibrating with it. We're not resonating with it. We have these habitual vibrations, these patterns of vibrations that we need to shift. And it's like until they shift, we'll be in that space where we believe that the image that we're seeing is true. Whereas if the image that we're seeing is not reflective of the divine light that we are, it's not true. And I think that's how it can be a really powerful teacher to us. We can allow this to help us see, well, how does it feel? Where am I focusing my creative energy? And before this interview, I checked in with my guides to see what they would like for me to share. And the thing that they had me share, it just felt very powerful to me. So you've always, I feel like most of us have heard, what you give your energy to expands, right? This is nothing new. We know this. But what they gave me was this image of us being like a fountain, like a water fountain, and just flowing this creative energy out towards whatever we hold in our awareness. So there's just this feeling of like every second there's this creative energy that we're choosing to direct. And when we, give our emotion to that, especially when we combine our words with that, we are shaping and forming this energy. And so for me, that just felt like a very living expression of where you give your awareness to expands. And it definitely made it feel more powerful and like, oh wow, like I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. You don't have to completely abstain from everything, but it's really, what are you holding in your awareness? Because you're always creating and manifesting consciously and subconsciously. It's always happening. So this image just feels like something that can be a very powerful reminder that you are the creator of your world, and the vibration that you choose to hold is going to affect the whole more powerfully than just your actions. Actions combined with intent is very powerful, but it's like, how are you radiating? So that's what they. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, I
Um,
love that. And that makes so much sense to me as well because, like, the order always, when I'm communing with them, I have my daily ritual with them, and they express the shifts in vibrations from the universe that I should be aware of, so that I can facilitate that through my own unique frequency. So to be able to align myself in a more, should I say, discerning way, as there is a lot of energy in motion. And so it's just for a discernment of just knowing that I'm always protected, to say it easy. And so when you were speaking now about the expression, the flow of energy, or the water symbol, and that is flowing, it is the co-creation. And they're telling me that 2024 is where there's going to be a lot of transmissions made available for anybody who is willing, who's on this journey, who's willing to reclaim their power, to open, to align with their unique frequency, that will activate new gifts, if you wish, maybe through different passions in life, whatever is going to activate within you will then be the authentic vibration is the focus for 2024. And so anything
Mm.
that we do today as we are moving into the shifts of the energies, I would say, through what we call a new year, it's just a flow, like you said, the energy of flow. We're just tapping into new vibrations that will allow us to really shine within our core being, to shine through our gifts, right? So the co-creation part, I think, is going to be something that unites us so much more in the coming years, that we are united, bringing our forces together. Like, I guess that's why I'm doing this podcast as well. When I was asked by the order to invite other channelers, because it's so different with other perspectives. So when we share it, we always come back to the truth of unconditional love, and that all is love, and how we resonate with the different vibrations or frequencies coming forward. And so I guess I would like to ask you then, as I'm reflecting on this, what is the core message, would you say, for the archangels, for humanity, moving forward in our time? Okay, no matter if it's a spiral or a circle or whatever, like what's the core message? Is it the same like it's always been, or is it shifting kind of?
I mean, I will say what's wanting to come through now is just the space that they hold for us. They see us as already ascended, right? They see us as in our divine expression. So that is the gift. The gift is, it's like when you are with someone who just loves you, it's like a puppy. Or,
Mm.
when you have this unconditional love, like you are raised into that space. And that is just this beautiful space that they hold us in. And I think that's a more powerful message than any sort of words. It's like we are seen as we are, and we don't necessarily see ourselves. And they
Ah.
hold this space until we begin to feel ourselves into it. And when we feel ourselves into that space, it's so much easier for us to appreciate ourselves, listen to ourselves, nurture ourselves, release resistance, which resistance is so much of what habit offers. Offers these filters and doesn't allow you to see clearly what's there, because there are so many signs and we're so surrounded by so many beings that love us, that are constantly offering us blessings and putting things in our path to assist us on our journey. But if we're not in that space of openness, if we are in that space of resistance on any level to any subject, we're not able to receive what is being offered to us. So that's why it's so, I think, helpful to know that they're just there, holding the space for us, seeing us as we are, patiently waiting for us to go through what experiences we need to go through, so that we come into that space where we're like, wait a second, I'm a vessel for the divine, and I can see that, like I can feel that, I can allow that.
Mm. I love that. And I think personally, I've been experiencing holding space for other people in a more profound way lately as well. It's just an extension of um, all that we are, and that we are part of the archangels, we are part of everything. And so, holding sacred space for me has been, uh, could I say, in these times been reignited within me. Like I feel that that's
Mm.
such an important thing to do in our world as we're living as humans. Like just meeting my children, when I see they're upset, I'm not trying to jump in and solve their problems. I'm trying to hold their space for them so they can delve and get to know their feeling, move through the emotions, and allow themselves to really sense what is the purpose behind those strong emotion, what beliefs or whatever they are experiencing at that moment, and just holding that space and being patient. But I think maybe people will recognize that it's easier to hold space for others, I think, than maybe holding space for ourselves. So I want some
It
tips
is.
for you. I want some tips. Can you give us some
All
tips?
right. Yes. Okay. Tip number one, forgive yourself immediately. even if you don't fully forgive yourself, just take yourself off the hook. It's like, you know what? I Well, first of all, I was going to say I messed up. You don't mess up. Like, I believe we live in a society where we've learned that there's a right and wrong, but from the divine perspective, there's just growth, right? Does a flower mess up when it, grows underneath a rock, or, it just grows around, right? It just There's no real mistakes. But definitely be easier on yourself if you have this version of yourself that's very spiritual and very aligned, and then the next day I'm trying to think of things that are not spiritual and aligned, but it's all, honestly, it's all part of the path, right?
Yes.
But I'll say it this way, if you experience yourself as something other than you would like to, if you find yourself doing something and it's like, oh, I know I can do better, and why did I do that? We're human. Like, if we didn't want to have those experiences, we wouldn't have chosen to have the human experience, right? If you come through the veil of forgetfulness, you have to give yourself some forgiveness because you literally forgot. Like, you literally don't know anymore. So just be as easy on yourself as possible, and whenever you make a mistake, like, just don't add to the resistance that's there. Because
Mm.
one of the times I was working with the Archangels, they gave me this image of the range of human emotions as all of these different colors on a color palette, and that they were all beautiful. Like, we have this habit of judging certain colors, certain emotions as bad or wrong, or we're doing these things and we're doing those things, when in reality, it's like they're experiences. We came here for experiences. So if you find yourself painting in some of those colors that you don't want to paint with, and you're like, why did I do that? It's just like, you know what? I'm going to forgive myself. And then I'll give you a tool a light tool that I created that I love. So I like to imagine a hose. So, like a typical garden hose from a house, but I imagine that it coming from source, whether you choose to view source as coming from within or above. I believe source is within, but as a symbol, I like to imagine source from above. So I'll imagine that this hose is full of divine, unconditional love flowing from source. And so if I find myself in a situation where I've done something that, I keep thinking about because it's like, oh, why did I do this? I'll just say, I direct this hose of unconditional love to flow consistently and infinitely to myself, to the situation, and all involved, until all are transmuted into love. And I feel it, like, I feel lighter. So that's my tip. Just be easy on yourself. We are the ones holding the gates of judgment against ourselves. Our guides are not. Source is not. It's just us. So just sometimes it helps to have, like, just a simple reminder, like, we're human. We're divine, and we're human.
Mm.
So we
I
have to
love
allow for
that.
what that means.
Yeah, I love that. That like is the symbol of a hose. I use more like the same actually. It's like when I remember the first time I asked what God or source look like. I was always curious, right? Because I knew it wasn't a man in the sky, even though the
Right.
religious part. So it's like, no, it's not that. And so I would see this waterfall like Niagara Falls. I would say this powerful of water just pouring down endlessly from infinite, right? And I would just be amazed. And you know the power of water. Well, I mean, you've seen Niagara
Yes.
Falls, right? Yeah. And
Yes.
it was more than that, but it was, and I had this explanation as well, what happens because it was, what would you say? It's sparkles kind of when it moved from particles moved from the mainstream. And they said, well, that is the spirit moving out into the environment to become souls. And it was just so beautiful pictures, like the drops
Wow.
from the source, the spirit itself. And he said the environment will now create the soul based on the, wherever it ended up. And I was just, I love that picture. I just loved it. And it made so much
Wow.
sense to me in that moment. And I was like, oh, I wonder where
Hmm.
particle, where did I end up? Like, how did what environment did I end up in? Like, it's like the quantum thing, right? And it's like, oh, and when you go in there, you can kind of get a little weirded out because it's so big. But I just love the emotion, the feeling, that everything that it brought to me. So I love that host. I'm going to try that actually. I'm going to try that tip and see, how that feels within my body, because I'm also very much, when I fill up with source energy, I can feel it. I feel it tinglings in my toes. I don't know why it's my toes, but it's always my toes.
But isn't that beautiful? It's different for so many people. Some people, it's, yeah, I love that. I love that. That's just wonderful.
Uh, okay, so talking about connecting with archangels and ascended masters and our divine guides, how could you, or maybe I could ask you this, any, yeah, tips for that as well? How each and every one, because we do have different ways of doing that, but what do you feel works the best for you? And maybe that will support others.
Well, yes, there's something that was part of my own experience that I would love to offer. So, Archangel Raziel is one of the angels who helps with connecting or I'll say connecting, but I like to say enhancing because we're not separate, but just really enhancing and reactivating your awareness of your oneness with the divine. And so, what I suggest doing is getting a clear quartz crystal and saging it or clearing it however you like to clear it, and then hold it in your right hand. But first of all, ask the crystal to help you, and then hold it in your right hand, and then ask, honestly, I would ask source to assist you with your connection, and then I would reach out to Archangel Raziel and ask him to just infuse this crystal with his energy to assist you in your journey of communicating. And then I would ask you to put the crystal in your non dominant hand and then ask your inner guidance a question and then just write. And this is opening the channel. So this is just, and writing whatever you want to write is the answer. If it doesn't make sense, that's fine. But doing this is just really going to allow you to open the flow. And then after a while you won't need the crystal, but sometimes our ego, our mind benefits from having something physical or something outside of ourselves to hold on to. And that's just a very simple way to get the process started. And one thing I didn't say before, I would love to say, to call on Archangel Michael or whatever angel or energy you feel just can help you maintain the integrity of your energy field so that the only thing that you're allowing in vibrates at the level of divine love or higher. So I just like to suggest this because I know some people have the vision of sight when it comes to seeing beyond the veil and into the invisible world. I do not have that consistently. I usually have it when I'm in my sessions. Um, so, one thing I will definitely share is when I started channeling, um, I wasn't sure of the energy that I was bringing through. And I remember saying to the universe, look, I want to be of assistance, but I do not desire to be a halfway house for wayward energies.
Hmm.
And so basically, just like, look, I only want things that are of high vibration. And so I highly suggest you set that as a rule for yourself. Like I am intending that whenever I communicate with the divine, that my energy field, that the vibration remains intact, and that the only energies that can enter my energy field vibrate at the level of divine love or higher. And then,
Yes.
take your crystal, set the intent to connect with, source through your crystal with the assistance of Archangel Raziel. Ask your question and then write. And then, set a time, 5 minutes every day. It doesn't have to be a long thing, it can just be something fun and light. But as you continue to do it, it's like you're making it safe for your ego, for its understanding of who you are if you do it in small amounts every day. And it just really begins to open the process. And then, reach out to Vivica or I if things start expanding and you would like some assistance. Like, what's going on?
I'm so glad you said that, because my journey has been an experiential journey, as everyone has, but it's kind of, how would I define that or put that into words. I didn't have any spiritual mentors. I didn't seek out anything. Since I was a child, I saw spirit. And so I locked that away when I was like started school because I couldn't be myself. I figured because when I spoke about it, people looked weird, looked at me weird. So I closed it up. But when I was 18, I was really into that. I was starting being called and drawn into past life, and I understood that there was something from a past life that needed to unfold. And so it actually ended up with this whole experience where the energies of my past lives, my four past lives, came through into this 3D dimension. So it was like people would say it was a ghost, if define it, but it was not. It was my lives in four past lives. So I visited myself through this dimension, came into this dimension, and I stood in front of my bed and I've visited all of these past lives later on, but I understood that I needed to explore past lives. And so I went to get Brian Weiss. We didn't have internet that time. Or yes, we did, but it was not like Google, Google it. It was not like that. So I had to go to the library, I remember, and I got Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. And I said, well, I know this. No, I know this. And so I just knew it. So that was kind of okay. If I know this and he writes about it, then there must be some truth to it. So I'm not alone. And so I said, okay, so how can I learn more about that? And so it was just a natural way of finding my path. But didn't have anybody to speak to about this. It was a very small community of spiritual people. And to be honest, I was judgmental. I looked at, people, and I would look at them and go, with their long skirts and the black hair and all that. And I was like, no, I'm not going that way. Like, that's not me. And so I know it was judgmental, but it was my own beliefs, right? Of how people, I was told that this is what spiritual people look like. And so I understand better, of course, look at me. But anyway, it's like when I did the training with Michael Newton Institute to become a life between lives hypnotherapist, like in 2012, and I already started to channel um, slowly. I was started to channel in 2000, yeah, in 2012. Everything happened in 2012, like everything. And it's
Wow.
just, that's how kind of like I, I was asked by the order to gather a group, and they would channel for this group for a year, and then I would make it out to be a book. I was like, how am I going to get people to come and allow me to channel for them? So for me, it's kind of like, how would you call it in English? Serendipity, or things just
Mm.
showed up, people showed up, things just showed up. So I've never until recently read books more than the Brian Weiss's book, and of course Dr. Michael Newton, because I had to be a facilitator, because they said do not read any books because you won't believe in yourself. Your ego will tell you that you read
Wow.
that somewhere, and you will not listen. We want you to listen to us and only us, and we will tell you when you are strong enough to go out and read other books and still be open for us as a channeler. And so this has kind of been, so it's been like a journey of not knowing anything and doing all the mistakes in the book. If there was a book about do not do this when you channel, I think I've done that. So I've visited by lower vibrations. I've had
Oh
people
my
have to help me
goodness.
release things because I was like, okay, I'm going to channel. I'm going to channel. There wasn't a book about, discernment, you know, do this, clear this, be careful. So I'm like, okay, so now that I know and I've been through all this, it's kind of, I love speaking to other channelers and hearing their story and just discovering, we all, even though we have different pathways, we come together understanding the importance of what you're saying, like the purity of that information, the power we carry, the divine, the source, unconditional love. It is for us to, I would say, protect, not throw it away, not, be I can't find another word than protective of our own unique frequency and that love. It's not like we're not going to share it, but we have to be discerning when we move into a lower vibrations. And
Yes.
and I'm very sensitive to the shifts in the universe. And so for me, it's like I don't, I can't watch the news.
Yeah.
I do keep myself updated, but it's very rare. Like it has to be, I know there's a war. I know, I don't have to go in. I can sit and I can give healing. I can work on the higher realms to help, to clear, to let go of the lower pain and surrender and bring more love. It's like I think that is what is necessary at this time for all of us to feel, when we're searching to be of service. I think that for me, that is the most important thing, that when we understand that, when we start reclaiming our power and not focusing outward and giving away our power to the news or being captivated of everything that happens outside, even, you know, social media, right? Look at me, look at me. I'm like, no, no, go 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 inwards. I mean, I'm not, you know what I'm talking about, Chernise.
Very much. Very
Yes. So
much.
I think just this beautiful way of um, reconfirming what you're saying, that let's protect the purity of who we are. Let's love ourselves so high that we only radiate love. We don't need
Yes.
to seek approval. We don't need to, dive into, the deeper depths of suffering or whatever. Let's just be one with the love. Let's unite in that love.
Exactly. And something that's so interesting now is that we are so exposed to other people's stories. Years ago, we were not. There was not the internet. There was just the television. There was the shared experience of that. There were times before television, strangely enough.
Yeah, I remember.
you know, and that we just weren't made present to all that was out there that we could give our energy to and then make our own. It was a much sort of pure experience. And it's beautiful and wonderful that we have all of this technology now, but it's definitely more important, I think, than ever to really recenter and fuel your own tank. And I love that you said you stay informed, but you don't watch the war. It's like, be conscious as much as possible about what you do. I think that's the main thing, because we're all honestly guided to do different things. Like, I was not guided to be a doctor. I could not be a doctor, and there are certain things that they are able to see and experience, and their energy field knows how to work with that without necessarily recreating more of that. And so there are people, there are wars going on, I believe, in many places.
Yes.
Um, and there are light workers that are in different places to do different things, because of their physical location, because of what they can do. So, depending on where you are, I believe it is important to figure out, and just really, it's a personal decision to connect with your divine guide and say, like, how can I best assist in this
Mm,
way? Like, maybe you're doing something physical, maybe you're doing something energetic, maybe it's a combination, but to just really be true to you and your inner guidance, because our egos, well, our egos definitely think they know a lot. They're really good at that.
yeah.
Um, but when we connect to our source and our guidance, it can say, well, actually, you're of greater service when you're over here or when you do this. And just to be comfortable with that, regardless of how others may perceive it, just knowing that if you're true, or when you're true to yourself, you are literally doing the most that you can do. Like, when you're
Mm,
true to your guidance, there's nothing more powerful. There's nothing more powerful than that when you're one with the real you. So I love that you said, what you did about just being in the space of, you're aware of what's going on, but you don't necessarily just direct this fountain of creative energy to contribute to the sea of emotions that are being stirred
right.
within people to recreate, this collective experience. So
Mm,
yeah.
true. So I would love for you, Charisse, if you would. bring a message from the archangels. Would you
Sure.
please? Thank you.
Sure. Okay. And just so you know, I'll be channeling Archangel Uriel. He will refer to himself as they because he speaks on behalf of, I connected with everyone's guides before the call, and he does have an accent. So just so you know. Yes, dear ones, very good, very good. We are so grateful to have this opportunity today to share this energy and this information with you, dear ones. And we would say if there is a message that we would like to share with you, the main message is we would say to hold on. Nothing is permanent. Nothing that you're experiencing in this plane is permanent. And this is a gift because as you are this creator being, what you're going to direct your energy to, the way you direct your energy is going to shift it so that you can experience something different. And what we would like for you to know, even beyond that, is that when you are looking at the illusion, when you're seeing things outside of you that seem so convincing, we really want you to know that as things move on this plane, things are vibrating at different levels. So you may see the shifts long after the shifts happen. And what we mean by this, as things are changing, you hear that things are moving faster, you hear that things are shifting, and you're looking around going, where, Uriel? I do not see things shifting. No, you must know that what you are looking at is already an image that lags behind that which is energetic in form. All physical creation must lag behind what is energetic. That is the way things unfold on this plane. There is first the creation of the energetic seed, and then it lowers in vibration until it manifests on this plane. So when you are looking at that which is around you, do not be dismayed and do not be convinced that that is all that you will see or that that is all that there is, because at all times things exist multidimensionally. There is never just one thing going on. It is that which you choose to connect to, which is going to be the most powerful creator in your own world and in the world around you. So, whenever you desire assistance, you can call on me, you can call on any archangels that you feel connected to, but allow us to recenter you and to remind you that the creator that you are is more powerful than anything that you see around you, and that that which you see around you is not always a clear reflection of the actual truth. It is a reflection of what is active in the energy fields of the collective, but it is not necessarily a reflection of the truth. So just remind yourselves and ask for us to help remind you to return to your heart space, to remind you of what is real, and to recenter into the divine that you are. So, this is the message that we have for you at this time, and we're going to bring Chernise back in now.
Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. That was a beautiful, very powerful message. Beautiful remindance of what we're doing as we're shifting now into the new year, just to have using the human perspective and the creative force, which is so important, our own unique frequency, to be able to trust in that. That's beautiful. Just what we
Thank you.
needed. Just what we needed. That was just amazing. Wow. So before time flies when you're having fun, right? I'm like, I could talk to you now. I just keep going. But before we end this conversation, do you have any further inspirational words or wisdom that you would like to share with the audience?
Oh, wow. Just, yes. I mean, be easy on yourselves. Be easy on yourselves. Be easy on yourselves. There is, I can't remember who created this phrase. I did not, but it's I forgive and love myself deeply, even though, whatever you've done. Like, say that if you've done something that feels, like I said, that's out of alignment with how you would like to see yourself, if that can help. But just really, just generally be easy on yourself, forgive yourself faster, let it go, ask your guides to help you let it go. You're too powerful a creator to focus all of your divine energies on this one moment, or honestly the 50 moments. You've had a lot of lifetimes. You're going to have a lot of times where you have all of this energy, and just to focus on one moment, or so many moments where you are not acting from your highest self. Just forgive yourself, ask for assistance forgiving yourself, and just open to the love that you are.
Mm, wow. Thank you so much. And that was very inspirational, actually. And I think that the key word here is forgiveness as well. I know that word personally, it really does shift your vibration when you can truly forgive yourself. So thank you so much for sharing that and for joining me and sharing your gift with us. It's been a pleasure, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful for the work that you do in helping humanity and shift into higher consciousness, and for us to all become channels of love.
Woohoo!
Yay! Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so much for
Chernise.
having me.
It's been a pleasure. And if you want to learn more about Chernise and her incredible work, then you'll find her contact information in the episode description. Well, season 3, Reawaken to the Power of the Universe, is coming to an end. But not to worry, I'll be back with more divinely guided conversations in season 4, where we'll dive into the topic of claiming our power and embracing our unique frequencies. It's been a pleasure sharing this sacred space with you. And if you find these conversations valuable, please leave a review in your favorite podcast app. And I wish you and your loved ones a magical holiday season. Sending you much love and light from me, your host, Vibeke Garnos, always guided by spirit. Bye now.